Hey everybody, welcome to Proud to Being Trans, episode 2 with Chase Grossman here from West Park, Ohio. How are
I'm doing good.
you?
How are you doing?
Doing great. Thank you for coming on the show. Very excited to have you here. So a couple of things about you. It looks like you were a wildlife rehabber at Stark Parks.
Yeah.
Okay, so what was that like?
So I was there for about a year. It's just like a little local county park system. Um, I was mostly in charge of this one specific area. That was a little bit away from the main building of their wildlife center where they did their main rehabilitation center and they also have education there too, with some wildlife ambassadors. So they have tons of wildlife that you would see here in Ohio, especially. So we have like the Virginian possum, uh, owls, hawks, lizards, different kinds of snakes too.
And I think I'm going to try to get some pictures uploaded into this video too of you with some of those birds and some of those animals. It's really awesome to see. What are some of your like favorite animals to like I guess help through rehabilitation and stuff?
Yeah, so one of my personal favorites, we had a turkey vulture come in through our rehab center. Not entirely sure of the year, but he was there for a little bit, and they deemed him non-releasable, meaning that his injury that he ended up having was too severe to go back into the wild. He would not have survived. So he ended up actually having one eye. And his one eye is so messed up he can't. He would kind of walk sometimes, and you would see him walk kind of sideways. Yeah, so he wasn't very able. He would not be able to survive in the wild at all. So they kind of had me as like the project person to start getting him to see if he can become a wildlife ambassador for us, to show people, kind of as showing people turkey vultures, because there's also sometimes misconceptions with them, and just kind of showing them also like what rehabilitation is all about, and how other people can help too.
That's awesome. And then you also were an intern at Lake Erie Nature and Science Center, and you're a current vet assistant. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was a volunteer for around 6-ish years, at the
Oh my
yeah,
gosh.
at the Lake Erie Nature Science Center. I did a summer there as an intern. I started, actually, they had a high school program there. They're still doing it, but due to COVID restrictions, everything's temporarily kind of on hold. But I volunteered there for quite a while, met amazing people, worked with awesome animals, connected with other rehabilitation centers. That was really cool. And then the internship, actually, I got to focus more on the rehabilitation side, where I got to see more of the medicine. And from there, I'm actually now I'm a vet assistant.
Yeah. So obviously you're an animal lover.
Yeah.
You love animals and stuff like that. You said you have two cats. What are your cats' names?
I have two cats. One is the oldest one. His name is Odin, and then the youngest is Violet, and they're both gray. And then I also have a rabbit. He's a little
Cute.
Netherland dwarf, and he's also a little gray baby. His name, we're kind of stuck on a name, so we are open to suggestions still. It's been almost a year. But so far his name is Bun Bun.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
That's really cute. So outside of animals and stuff like that, just tell us a little bit about yourself, like what's some stuff you like to do outside of like helping animals and stuff like that.
So I also have another animal. He's too big to live at my house, so I have a horse. His name is Dante from, Dante's Inferno.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So I actually got him through a rescue that they do with horses and come from other situations. And the kind of the joke is, when I was younger, my parents told me they would never buy me a horse. And so, a couple, fast forward a couple
You're
years,
like, I'll show
I
you.
said,
Yeah.
fine, let's adopt a horse.
I love horses. My dad actually used to have a bunch of paints, and he had a Palomino, and we had a full blood
Oh my
Mustang.
gosh.
Yeah, yeah. So we had a nice little group of them for sure. They're magical animals. I love horses so much. They're just they're very unique.
Yes, they're their
I'll
own
say
thing.
that. And I've been kicked. I've been kicked, and oh
Oh
my
yeah,
god.
I have been kicked,
Yeah, I've been bucked off, and yeah, yeah. But you like they say, you got to get back up on the horse and ride.
Exactly, exactly.
So getting into the topics and everything, if you're ready. So at like, what age did you feel different from like your birth gender?
So I started kind of feeling different, a little bit later in life than some other people. Actually didn't come to the little kind of like this start feeling in almost until college, until late college. So I was about in my 19, 20. And then I didn't start hormones until I was 21. And then I didn't change my name until about a year ago ish.
Mm.
Yeah.
And what made you finally feel like, you know what, hormone therapy is like what I need to do, and like that's
Yeah, so I just kind of started feeling like I wanted to present myself more differently. And I had my therapist, and I was just talking more about it. And I saw her for about a year until we even came to that thought of, I kind of want to start hormones. So it's pretty cool because she's kind of seen me even pre-T, and just before that realization, because I wonder if she knew before I knew.
probably
Right.
Yeah. A lot of people, I've heard that they're like, I always knew you were a girl,
Yeah.
like I was like, yeah, okay. Fair enough. So what were some of the biggest struggles you think, as far as like dealing with your transition, and maybe people in your life or your circle that maybe had a hard time with your transition?
Yeah, so I still have my struggles, definitely, especially at work with different clients, people who meet me. I guess I'll still get misgendered here and there, and sometimes
That's always annoying.
yeah,
Always
and it
annoying.
happens,
Yeah.
and like I know, and most of the time, I've never really had it like in a mean way, like where I was misgendered. But I'm trying to say, my parents too still misgender me.
That's tough. Yeah, I could deal with that too.
Yeah, because they're like, you're still this person to me, and I like I get that, but then also there's also, at this point, I've been 2 years now on testosterone, so I'm like, it's
not a phase. Yeah.
it's not a phase. I can't go back to certain things anymore.
Sure. And so post hormone treatment and everything, how has it made you feel?
Actually, a lot of my friends have said it to me too, but I really do feel more genuine and more authentic. That's what they said. And I really, I love that about it too, is I don't feel like I'm wearing, like people mentioned, like a mask. I don't feel like I'm wearing that mask anymore.
You're finally able to be yourself.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's been a good, happy experience.
Yeah, it's been mostly good. There's been, the ups and downs as we have, but my experience is obviously my own experience. And I think female to male typically is a little bit more accepted in society that is so masculine oriented. So I know, like, my struggle is, my own, and yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Everybody's transition is going to be different, Some are definitely, going to struggle a lot more. Some are very lucky that they have everybody in their life that accepts them and loves them and, is on board with it. But I think the key thing and the key takeaway is that, like, and especially in my case, that, like, transition has just made me happy. Like,
Yeah.
I finally get to be myself, and it's, it's like such a relief.
Yes.
But you've got to you got to climb some mountains to get there.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it doesn't happen overnight. And so, talking about that, like, what are some of the toughest adjustments for you, like becoming a guy, like stepping in from the other side of the street, from becoming or from being a woman and to becoming a man? Like, what are some struggles that you see as being a man?
Being a guy, I also like know also how horrible like most like cis kind of men can be. So
Yeah.
it's like I kind of end up getting grouped into that. I'm like, no, don't. You're not part of that. You are, but you're not. Yeah.
Right?
So like I kind of want to take. I honestly kind of want to take on that part of telling other men, like with the kind of just simple respect.
Are you talking about like locker room talk, like how, like, yeah, like they grotesque guys can kind of get sometimes?
Yeah, and I just want to tell them, you're like, hey, guy to guy, that's not cool.
Yeah. For real. Yeah, guys can definitely be pretty nasty sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and they can just be gross.
What else about becoming a guy would you say is like been a tough adjustment for you?
I think kind of in general though, it's the physical transition was a little bit difficult. Because you're becoming a little bit more self-conscious about your body. Almost, you're like, oh, what's changing about me? And you're like, oh, here's a difference, here a difference. And you start comparing yourself, but then you start comparing yourself to other people as well as yourself.
Yeah, so there's definitely a sense of worry as far as, I think, when you're looking inside of, okay, is my transition going well? Is it gonna work out for me? Or there's a lot of self-doubt, I guess.
Yes.
Whenever you transition and stuff. But I think that eventually, kind of, as you go down your path, it just seems to get easier and easier and easier. So, like, dating, love life, how has that affected things in your life, and what's your dating love life situation like?
It has been pretty crazy. There's times where I've had to look in the mirror and say I'm being the toxic one, where because I it's not an excuse, but I didn't know myself then. I didn't understand what was happening. I didn't have a relationship with myself, so I didn't really understand how to really be in something that's like healthy and open and accepting. So I mean, I think everybody's kind of sexuality changes and fluctuates when they're going through their experiences, because sometimes I'm really uncomfortable, and then other times I feel super comfortable and I'm more open and with different people, and like different times too. Like I remember when I first came out to my mom, came out as bisexual because that was kind of the most simplest thing to her.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense.
Yeah, and then it's just kind of changed here and there, and then now that time has changed too, we're finding different kind of labels and finding different things that we feel more comfortable with, that we want to represent as ourselves.
Yeah, and me personally, like I people ask me, okay, well, do you date guys, girls? I'm like, I don't box myself in. My personal thing, like, I don't like try to label myself as anything. I just tell people I'm an equal opportunity employer. Like,
I love that.
I feel like that's the best way to phrase that kind of thing. So what are some future goals? Now that you get to be yourself and everything, like what are some things that you like really look forward to and are really excited about, and for your future?
Um, Honestly, it's just like I'm becoming more and more. I mean, like, especially in terms of like everything politically going on. There's a lot of, sadness. A lot of oh
Yeah.
my gosh, my cat. I'm sorry.
No, no, you're good. You're good.
um, there's a lot of stuff going on, so there's like a lot anxiety. There's all of that, um, kind of that nervousness of what's going to happen forward. Um, so, sorry, what was the question? My cat.
No, it's just about like going, moving forward in the future, and as far as like things that you're excited about that now that you get to be yourself. But I mean, touching on the political sides of things, there are a lot of lawmakers and stuff out there that are trying to make our lives very difficult. In healthcare, housing, all this type of unnecessary stuff. Politicians do not need to be worried about transgender people or diving into our business unless it's something that protects us or benefits us, like they should for every citizen.
Exactly.
Regardless of if they're,
Yeah, so I am kind of
who they are.
there is some hope in that. There's some hope in some new changes going on. But in terms of like transitioning, I'm hoping my genetics is gonna start kicking in more, and I personally am looking forward to more like facial hair.
Yeah.
And just to honestly just be more recognized and have because the levels of misgendering and like correction has been switching off, and it's been slowly getting better. Some days is better than others. I guess I need to get a haircut, but
I think you look
Thank
great.
you.
I think you look great. Yeah, yeah. But yeah, and definitely as time goes on, like I was saying, it'll get easier and easier, and unfortunately, yeah, transitions do not happen overnight, and I don't think it's something that you ever really finally say, like, oh, I'm done, like I've finally reached a finishing point. I think transition is just a lot like, self-care, and the fact that you always just need to take care of yourself, and just kind of always, look out for stuff. What's some improvements that you'd like to see from society regarding transgender people?
oh, there's so much. There's so much we need to do.
Oh man, we got time, so go for
There's
it.
so much that we need to do in terms of society, healthcare, you mentioned the housing, just discrimination. And in my state, in Ohio, I think there's still the law where, you have the right to fire at will. Uh,
Oh
so
god,
yeah, they can just fire you for no reason, essentially.
yeah.
And so there's like a very, a lot of protections are being constantly taken away, things are being changed, so it's also very confusing too. Especially being like I'm still a little bit younger, I not sure exactly. I haven't experienced the full life stuff. I have like kind of, I call it kind of like points. I have little life points. So,
Mhm.
I have like a little apartment, check. I'm
Yes,
getting
yeah.
there. I have my
Yeah.
job, check. But, one day I want to be on salary, one day,
Uh-huh. So do you want to become a veterinarian? Is that, do you think, your goal as far as like future job and stuff, or?
honestly, no.
Oh,
Yes,
really?
my parents kept telling me I should become a vet when I was younger.
Uh-huh.
But when it comes
Yeah.
to like personal pets and like especially just like domesticated animals, I'm a lot more sensitive. So like especially when it comes to like euthanasia or especially if things are just really sick, I have kind of very sensitive stomach too.
Yeah.
But in terms of like wildlife, I actually look forward to, excuse me, when things start getting, more open, people are coming more together, we're allowing more people into public places. Because then places like wildlife centers will start opening up again. And they're slowly getting there, but I'm actually going to I'm trying to go more into wildlife rehabilitation. That I actually went to college and got my BA in environmental studies. Yeah, thank you. So that was like right before COVID, anything happened, you know. So I consider myself a little bit lucky.
COVID has screwed up so much.
Oh yeah, I ended up actually having a job almost set up out in New York right before COVID hit, and I was about to get a new job and such, but then I was just like, well, everything shut down, you know, traveling, everything. So, you know, I'm looking forward to, you know, moving again and kind of experiencing some more things. But in terms of veterinarian settings, there's still a lot of things in the medical field that, you know, each veterinarian kind of can do a little bit their own thing. And there is a little bit of a standard per se. But for example, I think in certain states like Ohio, especially, like declawing is still allowed.
Oh, yeah.
And so like that's still just like very iffy, and you know, each veterinarian can kind of do their own thing still because it's, you know, they can.
Yeah.
But definitely there's a lot of
I've got a friend that, and I mean, if she is so against decline, like if she finds out that you declawed your cat, she's coming after you.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Let's see. So, what words of encouragement for somebody who's considering transition?
So one of my biggest words of encouragement is, you know, start talking to your closest friends. I think, you know, especially, and if you haven't already found a therapist, find a therapist.
Absolutely.
Because I think being able to find your real support people sooner is better, because then like kind of later down the road, you know, it hurts a lot more because you start thinking, you're like, I thought this person was here for me, but they're really not.
As far as like a person not being there for you, like as far as like friends?
Yeah.
So you're saying like having a therapist is like you've got somebody you can fall back on.
Yeah. And then just having that conversations with them, and then, you know, the main thing is like you don't do it like completely alone.
Right. Well, and coming out in itself, that takes a ton of courage, and it's a huge decision, you know, to finally, you know, pull the cord and tell everybody and say, ta-da, I'm a different gender, and you know.
Yes.
It's a huge shock for a lot of people.
Yeah, I think I started hormones first, and then I changed my name on Facebook. And then like slowly people started gathering it around. And then I think that like about a year or so later, maybe 6 months down the road, I ended up like doing my official Facebook out.
Nice. You know? And how did that feel, like as far as like at that point you pretty much, I mean, you're affirming yourself that I'm a dude, like, you know, it is what it is. So
yeah, exactly.
Did you get any like negative feedback from that, or
not so much negative, more of like, we're supportive but give us time?
Sure. Yeah.
And it was just more so that, I mean, I did get a lot of support of like a lot of my friends on there, because I kind of started that weeding session a little bit early.
Did you reach out to any other like trans people that you might have known, or did you have any trans support basically?
Yeah, I had actually, like, I honestly did not meet my first trans person also until college. Like, I had a couple friends who were,
or that you knew was
that I
trans.
knew of.
Right.
Exactly.
A
That
lot
I
of us
knew of.
blend right in.
Exactly, because a couple of my friends, I actually went to, God, this is awful, but I actually went to an all-girls school
uh,
in high school. And so,
I bet you love that.
it was pretty fun. It was pretty fun. There were some ups and downs for sure. But
Yeah.
I think about, that I know of on the top of my head, there was about 3 of us that ended up coming out as queer or trans in some way. And then one of them I went to college with, and it was really awesome to see, how he transitioned too. And then, in college, that's where I really found my kind of like my queer family. And that's kind of where I started learning a lot more and getting more information, because, I just kind of had that curiosity all along, but really no way to reach out without kind of feeling shameful almost, because, it's still a little bit taboo.
Right. Yeah.
So like I ended up, one of my first partners in college was like he was slowly transitioning. So that's kind of like where I first really got I call it my one-on-one intro.
Yeah. And were you scared at all?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I was nervous, like of just kind of like what was I about to do, because I kind of had that feeling of like whatever's about to happen, there's no turning back.
Let's see. What else would we? Yes, I know something. One of my friends will get really upset if I don't ask you this. Have you ever dealt with eagles, like golden eagles or anything like that?
I have. I've dealt with bald eagles before. I've never handled them, just because at the time I wasn't that experienced, and they weren't gonna throw a little like kid in there.
Right.
So I got to interact with it a little bit. But actually, one of my mentors, who I volunteered with for a little bit at the nature center, she's now working at the World Bird Sanctuary. So she's working with the eagles, the hawks, the falcons, all the owls, and a bunch of different birds that we don't see here in America, that are considered like old world.
Right.
Yeah, so
that's so crazy.
She's working with all those big ones, but that's awesome though. And if people who are wondering about how to get into it, it starts with honestly volunteering, and just because that's how you kind of just learn, honestly, because you can read the stuff in the books, you can start learning the history, their natural things, I started with things that actually interested me. Don't go too big. I didn't try to start understanding stars. I just kind of started with things that I found in my backyard and just kind of started with that.
That's really cool. So touching back on hormones and stuff like that, what type of hormone treatment do you use, or what have you tried, and what's some stuff that maybe you would recommend and stuff like that?
Oh yeah, so mine was a little crazy. I started with the traditional, with the needles and the hormones, which was the testosterone, and I started off with these needles, but I kept having these really bad reactions to the injection sites. And I was doing it on my thighs, and getting over essentially stabbing yourself once a week.
Yeah, I do injections. Yeah, it's every time I'm like, here we go.
Yes. I kept having these really bad reactions, and then I ended up kept hitting like a vein, I guess, because then it was just bad, and I was like, oh no, nope.
Yeah, because for female to male, the testosterone needles, it's big.
Yes.
It's huge. For estradiol, we get to use these little tiny, little thin needles. But for the guys, you guys have these huge needles that are
Yes.
they're scary.
They are scary, and that's the other thing is there's also now other options where you can do it sub Q, and those you can actually use the small like insulin needles for.
Oh, okay. Subcutaneous.
Mhm.
I think. Yeah. So it's like barely breaks the skin.
Yeah. So I originally tried that, but they were telling me to do it intermuscular, but the needle wasn't reaching. So at first we thought, oh, maybe that was why I was having this bad reaction. They ended up trying. I tried like 3 different size needles, um, each having bad reactions, and then it turns out that I was having the bad reactions to the alcohol I was using to sanitize.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
So when you say like bad reactions, like what was happening?
Like the injection site would get really red and hot,
Ooh.
and then it would get really swollen.
Oh, okay.
And then the first time that it happened, I like my leg ended up getting so sore that just like from the first time, like the first day, I like almost couldn't walk on that leg. It hurt. Um,
Mm.
but and like it wasn't any fault of like my doctors or anything. It was just myself.
How your body reacted to it.
Yeah. It was upsetting. It took me like 3 months to figure out that it was the alcohol. So that's 12 weeks.
Yeah. So what did you resort to? Like what different types of stuff did you go
Yes.
with?
So after that whole fiasco, one of my roommate at the time, he was actually using when he was in high school, and I think he uses it now. I'm not entirely sure. Um,
Mm.
it's gel. So it's like
Oh, okay.
this liquid gel that you just apply to like your chest, your stomach, arms, um, anywhere that you can technically cover up with a shirt, just because it can
Irritate your skin.
it can
Yeah.
irritate your skin. It can stick to your shirt if it's not dry.
Mm.
But also if you can't. It says on like the labeling you can't touch babies or like women.
Oh, because it could transfer.
Mm,
Yeah, it could transfer the hormone through that.
yes. Even that little bit. So you have to wait a couple hours for it to completely absorb, and still have to be careful. But
Mm.
um, so I use the gels. I guess there's a couple of different options now with some sort of pack, like a nicotine pack that you stick on. Like a patch.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay. A patch.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. A transdermal patch.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's also
Now,
patches.
with female to males, now I know for girls like myself, we have to do you know, a few things to get the desired hormones and stuff like that. So, but for female to males, what all do you need to reach your desired blood work and everything like that? Is it just testosterone?
So that's the thing. Is like my healthcare is very basic, and they have me on like a very basic, kind of basic regimen of doing. So I started off with a very small dose for so long, and then they slowly upped it. And I'm still on that dosage. So
Mm.
it's not very individualized for me as much as I want it to be. And I'm sure if I were able to find like a good clinic and such like that, I would be able to. Um,
Mm.
but I know I'm due here coming up here for some blood work.
And so have you had your levels checked since you've switched to the gel and everything like that?
Only the once, the first time, because I wanted to make sure that it was doing okay. I guess they said it was fine. So that's what I'm coming up here. I have an appointment for some more blood work.
Well, good. Are there any like health concerns or anything through taking female to male HRT? Because I know with girls like myself, there's risk of deep vein thrombosis and and just a lot of issues and stuff like that.
Yeah, there's been some information on certain like this is not to scare people, but it's always individual, and you have to constantly be checking yourself. But there's other illnesses like certain cancers that you have to just be careful of. um, that is just from like one person that I know of, but through their doctor. So that's maybe just their thing. For me, I have issues with my chest still, and that is also from a combination of my binding that I use. So I actually use a binder that I purchased online from a really great company. I'm not entirely sure on the top of my head.
Yeah.
But they do like a bunch of stuff like that, which I love.
So you bind daily?
Yes, I bind daily. Yeah. I'm not entirely sure. Because I've been asked about top surgery, and it is something I want to do one day. But currently, at our stage of our medical, the way the current medical team is, I guess, state is basically my chest is a little bit too large for the surgery I want, because the surgery that a lot of people get with the least amount of healing time, the least amount of scarring, is called the keyhole surgery, which I'm not entirely familiar with, but from what I understand is they kind of just use a small incision on the side, and kind of just Odin. They just basically just do a small incision, and so the healing process is, a lot sooner and apparently less painful than full-on cutting.
Yeah, absolutely. So with binding and stuff like that, is it painful to do that every day? Is there a lot of discomfort with that?
There definitely, after a period of time, there is. So it's recommended not to bind like I think it's like over 8 to 10 hours, which can be hard, especially if you're working long hours a day. For instance, I think I'm working about 8-hour shifts. So like I'm kind of like, I'm doing that multiple times a day. Luckily, I'm able to find certain days of the week where I don't bind at all. It's just a sweat day kind of thing.
Oh, that's got to be nice every once in a while to be like, I can breathe.
Yep, or I'm fine, especially in the comfort of my own like apartment. There's no worries.
Now, when you started taking HRT and stuff like that, hormone replacement therapy, did you like? Was there any pain and stuff like? Did you go through like any painful adjustments as far as like your body adjusting to things?
A little bit. There's definitely one of the more painful thing that people typically don't talk about is your clitoris. Does become slightly enlarged. Each person is a little bit different in terms of sizing, but that growth specifically during that time can be really painful.
Oh gosh.
So they call it growing pains.
Anything else that you would say besides that, or is that pretty much just kind of about it?
That was kind of it. In terms of like any discomfort, I think.
And does once that happen, once you the growing pains, about how long does the duration of that, and then does the pain eventually stop?
Yeah, for me the pain has stopped, but I'm not sure if it would come back if I were to like adjust my testosterone. So I'm not entirely.
So if you upped your dose, it may start that again.
It's potential, but there's definitely, you can't, once you stop, if someone were ever stop testosterone or something, that effect is not reversible. So you're going to permanently have a longer part of you, and then wherever point you're at with your voice, most likely will also not return to how it once was.
Right. Right. So with your voice deepening and stuff from testosterone, how has that made you feel? Like,
oh my gosh, so like honestly, it's getting to the point. It's getting better. when it first started, I'm like, I could not listen to myself. I cannot listen to myself talk on the phone, nothing.
Oh, I hate my own voice. Trust me, I
Yeah.
hate mine.
Absolutely hate it. But like, it's slowly getting to the point where it's kind of the voice that I hear in my head now. So like kind of hearing it is also slowly becoming more affirming too.
Is there any like vocal training and stuff? Because I know that for like girls, we can go to vocal coaches, which I need to do. I want to do. But is there vocal coaching and training for guys?
I believe there is. I'm not completely familiar with it though. I know there's. I believe if anybody who wants to sing has to practice their voice, so anybody who's gonna try to talk a certain way is gonna have to practice too.
Yeah. And then so like after that you've transitioned and stuff, have you made like new friends and stuff, like people that have like people that you didn't expect, I guess, like to support you?
Definitely, one of the craziest things is becoming more and more open to others in general. Is like, for some reason I've become very approachable to people. I'm not sure why.
They're like, he's cool, he'll talk to you, trust me.
Yeah, like he's fine. He's harmless. Look at him. He's like a 12-year-old kid. So yeah, that is just one of the craziest things. Like I stopped earlier today at the laundromat, and the person started talking to me about her job at Amazon, and I was just like, I'm just trying to leave. I'm sorry, but thank you. I hope you're doing well and stay safe, stay healthy.
But as far as like maybe were there people in your family that you thought, oh my god, these people would have, I never would have thought that they would like be pro for my transition? And my mom has become quite a big ally to me, especially for me. She still struggles, doesn't really work with the name thing, and the pronouns here are still rough, but in terms of my beliefs and my rights and such like that, she is very supportive of that. My dad's a little bit harder to read, but in terms of like extended family, I've had a lot of like my cousins have been very supportive. I've had aunts who've messaged me and very supportive, and just like, you keep doing you, Chase, like we love you, and like those are like the really small things that like kind of make up for that. Absolutely. Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's like, so awesome.
Yeah, and the amount of internet friends I've made too.
Well, and especially being in a pandemic, I mean, the internet is becoming a really good source. But there are a lot of great, and I'm not familiar with your side, as far as like, support sites and stuff like that. But for girls and stuff, I know that there's a lot of great Facebook groups and stuff like that I'm a part of, that we're all trying to like help each other out, get information out to everybody, and stuff like that, because it's a huge decision to transition, and it's scary, and you don't really know what it's gonna be like, and it's you feel like that everybody, at least I did at first, that like everybody's just gonna leave me,
Yeah.
And that's not really the case. There, you'll lose people, or at least in my case, like I lost people that I thought would have stuck right by my side, and then I gained people that I thought would in a million years never supported me, but they just they do, and I'm like, so I guess the thing is, don't try to predict who's gonna support you and who won't.
Yeah, you would be surprised, definitely, for anybody who's wanting to come out or nervous too. And like the amount of, even like the we all try to have a couple of our high school friends around for a while. Even like the very small handful that I have been, outstanding people and just even bigger allies for me than I would have ever like imagined. And especially, and even more so, is their parents.
Yeah.
Which meant a lot to me because, growing up with them as they're kind of my second parents, I still wanted their approval too.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that you're bringing up an important topic, and an important point is that, for people that are trying to understand us, or, are part of our family, or just people in general, to be respectful to trans people. Like, it means the world to us.
Mm-hmm.
If you just help us out a little bit, and try to see things our way just a little bit, and get behind us and support us. And I promise you, everyone that I've ever met has been a good-hearted, smart, intelligent person. I've yet to meet a transgender person that I just was like, that person is a terrible person.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's just because we have to overcome so much anyways, and that we have to be so strong to go through what we go through, to be ourselves, that it in turn, it just disciplines you, I guess, in a way, and it makes you thankful for the things that, the little things in life, and stuff like that. So closing out here and everything, is there anything that you would like to tell the world, or to tell future maybe women that are gonna become men, that are thinking about that, what would you want to say to them?
Yes, one of my mentors said to me a while ago, and I have it tattooed on my chest now, actually. And
really?
It's give your heart to the world, and that's just keep caring, keep loving, keep working at what your goals, and the people who will matter will be there for you. And don't be afraid to reach out for help.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm so glad that you got to come on the show, and I'm so glad that I got to speak with you and everything. And I'm so happy for you.
That's great connections,
Absolutely. And we always got to look out for each other and everything, especially in times like now. And the world is going to hell in a handbasket.
I know, it just feels all crazy. It's not even real.
All right. Well, hey, I would love to have you on again if you ever want to come back on and stuff. And just thank you so much. And I hope you have the best day ever. Okay.
I thank you. You too. Stay safe. Stay healthy.
Absolutely.
Bye.
All right. We love y'all. Bye.